David Edward and Laura Ballet discuss Laura's book, The Science of Empowerment.
Laura, how are you?
I am fabulous. How are you, David?
I'm doing really good. I see a bunch of book covers behind you.
Yes,
The Science of Empowerment.
that's the book.
J3 equals E. Is that what I said? What did I say?
Yes.
What is that?
Yep.
What is
Yep.
J3 equals E?
Yep. So this is this amazing empowering formula that my brother Chris created at our neuromuscular training facility, and it is all mindset material. And it's 5 principles, 3 fields of energy. And when you follow the structure of this formula, it leads to an empowered life. So
Wow.
J3, Jekyll principles, 3 fields of energy equals E, empowerment. It's amazing.
Well, it must be working because here we are on this wonderful podcast, right?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
All right. So this book came out about a year ago. Is that what we figured out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what does a person read this book? What do they get out of it?
Oh, life transformative knowledge. There's something about the way this book was written. And as a writer, so much of the information you feel comes from outside source,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like to each writer. And that creativity kind of flows with that universal like alignment. That's what happened. It really begins to just transform patterns and behaviors, negative behaviors that don't really help people live out their full human potential. And you read this book, and I've had doctors who read it, psychiatrists. I have a neuroscientist in Harvard reading it, and he's like, I feel like I can take on the world. It just is this powerful reminder that you are brilliant, you are genius, there is something amazing in you, and let's get to it and stop wasting time.
But it's actual. I mean, it's rooted in real principles and real science. It's not a new age book, right? I mean, this is just how to live your life through
Yeah.
science.
It has this beautiful alchemy of awareness, consciousness awareness, but neuroenergy, neuroscience, a mix of mind biology. It's almost if Dr. Wayne Dyer and Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza created a lab kid and they wrote the book. It's kind of in that vein. So it's not new agey in the way we may think it is, but it is definitely a conscious, aware book of how to really empower the knowledge that's already sitting in you. But it's technical. It's got some, complexities to it. It's a thinking person's book.
Well, so let's dig into it. What was going on in your life where you were sitting watching? What do you watch? Baseball, football? I don't know. I don't know what you watch. Watching something, watching TV, staring at the wall. You were staring at the wall.
Yeah.
You're drinking your coffee. You just woke up, and you're like, my life isn't complicated enough. I haven't done enough hard things. I think I'm going to write a book called The Science of Empowerment and really go for it. What was that day like? How did you decide to write this?
So very cool story. My brother, he knew I had a book in me. I've been wanting to write since I was 14 years old. I still remember the day I told my mom. I remember the sun coming into the room. I remember going to tell her I'm going to write a book that's going to change the world someday. And of course you are, daughter. But my brother always knew that I had a language and I had a connection to energy. I see it differently than the average person. I can feel it differently. I tap into it. And I wanted to create a book, almost like a living library, a resource where people could tap in and feel their own ability to really do something unique. So my brother just kept on me like, sister, when are you going to write the book? When are you going to write the book? Let's go write the book. And it just was this momentum. And finally I started. But 5 years later, the Science of Empowerment was born. It took a long time.
So it took 5 years to write this. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, but I want to, that was a good answer.
Okay.
But I mean, did you go buy a laptop? Did you start writing in a a notepad? I mean, how did you go from the idea and your brother pushing you, whatever, that's the motivation, but how did you start?
I just started, David. I love this is who I am. It's in my cells, it's in my DNA. I was like this and speaking this language when I was a kid. It was just if you go back in that time frame, it did maybe come out in a way that was more. Remember Shirley MacLaine and Out on a Limb and
Yep.
all of that? Okay. So it was kind of at the beginning when some more of the masses was moving into exploring what spirituality and conscious awareness would be, human potential, human development. So it was in me. It wasn't difficult sitting down and writing it. It really wasn't even challenging. But what took the time was I read every word and I kept structuring it and I saw it almost as a puzzle and how I would write it and how I formulated it. It was really, it was an amazing experience. I would say to anyone that wants to write, just find a way and begin because it's an amazing experience.
Did you outline it first, or did you just like collect the terms that you use, or just
I sat down and just
pounded it
started
out?
writing, and about 80,000 words in, I was like, okay, this is cool. And I kind of kept restructuring it and reformatting. The titles came to me. It really, I just feel like it was a bit of a gift.
You were inspired.
Yeah, I was very inspired.
Yeah.
And it really was, I wanted to write something. We all ask one another, like, if we could do something to change the world, if we could leave legacy, if we could actually live while we're creating a legacy, what would it be? And for me, it's the information that sits in my mindset and how I see getting it out into the world. And it's through speaking engagements and books and coaching and all of the things that I'm embarking on now and just really helping people.
Well, and let's talk about that, because a lot of folks are already doing that, and then they kind of use the years of that experience. They take their notes and they turn that into a book. I call them business card books. And then they're still doing what they're doing, but now they have a book. But it's not like you were a science of empowerment guru going out and giving conferences and advice and everything before the book. But after the book, I think that's changed, right?
Yeah. So two things. Again, I remember being 9 years old and giving a talk like on power because I thought I was a superhero when I was young. My brother and I actually tried to jump off the roof on mattresses one day. It's a fun story, but I really did. It was just like I said, even when I was a kid, I was always that kid at a party or out, if the adults were having a gathering and we were somewhere else, I was the one up in front talking about how to be the best you can be, whatever that was. So I really kind of tapped into this. And then I wanted to find a way to express it. And that is what happened with my readership. I started getting feedback with, this book is changing my life. Will you coach me on this? What about this? And that's how it started. I honestly didn't even think about it in the beginning. I wrote the book for the love of sharing the information. I write even in there, it stated, if I change one life, it would be an absolute honor.
Yeah.
And then all of this feedback started coming in. And now this is where I'm at, moving this language and this information and this knowledge out into the world. But it really is to transform lives and really elevate people.
Very positive message.
Yeah,
Well, even
very much.
which comes, even the cover and the colors, it all comes across as very, very positive. So you can see a lot of thought went into it. So you said that it took 5 years from the time you decided to write the book to the time you actually wrote the book. How much of was that all literally writing the book, or did you wait 4.5 years and then pound it out, or what did you do during those 5 years?
Yeah, I kept writing and then reading and then writing. And I actually had a pretty bad accident. I was doing a backflip and I landed wrongly on my neck and I subluxated my first vertebrae and I had a concussion for over 400 days while I was writing the book. But very kind of unique part of this is the book shifted when that happened. Don't know why, don't know how, but whatever it looked like in the beginning, through that process, I was so inspired to not let that get me down and knock me back. And it was my personal challenge to keep showing up every day in writing so that if and where somebody was reading it and they were going through something, they would know, you too can do this. We can move through this.
Yeah, I have no life experience actually doing a backflip, but I think I can imagine. Not sticking the landing seems very natural to me. So it seemed like I totally understand how that could be a thing. So
So
what,
very cool. Oh, I was going to say, I'm so sorry. My brother's a former USA Olympic gymnastics coach. So that's
okay.
why at this point in my life, we were still doing those things.
All right. So, and now
Yeah.
neither one of you landed on your heads when you were jumping off the roofs, did you?
No, we
Okay, well,
landed
that's
on the
good.
mattress.
Mattress. Okay. See that then look, that's a lot of prior planning. It takes a lot,
Yes.
right? I mean, and that's actually it's a lot of physics involved to actually hit the mattress too, I would
Yeah.
imagine, from the
Yeah,
roof.
I
Yeah.
didn't writing the book. Again, it's just I sat down one day and I decided to write it. And I mean, I saw, it sounds a bit cliche, but there was, the beginning of the first chapter, like those first few sentences, they come to you. They
Mhm.
just are there, whether they're in a dream state or you're doing the dishes and you stop and you run up and you get on the computer and you just start. There's this movement. And again, for me, it's neural energy. I think the neurons, they connect and alignment happens and that creativity gets sparked and then it flows. But I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and that's why it took a long time. Every sentence was thought of, what came before, what came after, how is that reader going to feel, what is this going to spark in them, what's going to emerge from reading this. And so I really took it to heart, as a caregiver, and really wanting to tap into, however you want to look at it, whether you're religious or you're spiritual or no, none of those, but just human potential. How can I give information that would help someone develop their own idea of what their potential may look like? And that's why I wrote the book.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
So the book's been out about a year, right? Came out, we think, October of last year.
Yep, right around
And we're recording this in November. It's about 13 months. So
yep.
the lucky number 13. So give me the most interesting feedback you've gotten about the book, and also give me the worst thing that's happened because of the book. Now, it could be the worst thing that happened if someone bought you an ice cream cone. It doesn't have to be a disaster, but I'm just curious
Yeah.
what the highs and lows, because this is, it's one thing to write a book and then get it out there, but this book is a book that could potentially change people. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious, not everything, not every batter bats 1,000, right? So I'm
Right.
just curious what the experiences have been.
Yeah. So really, I would say the most profound, and there's, a few thousand things that come to my mind of how there were small shifts, saved a marriage, all kinds of things. But really, the most profound was a young man who was actually suicidal, and his parents knew me through a friend. They got the book as a gift, and they said, "Would you talk to him?" And I'm not versed in that level of
Yeah.
struggle, but I just said, I want you to look at the titles and see if anything resonates, and then read that chapter. And he did. He just something, and it that chapter alone began to transform his mind and how he went about. And he's amazing. I've stayed in touch with him. That was something that, again, that was my one person right off the bat that was
Wow. Yeah.
amazing. There's nothing negative that's come out of it. The only thing I personally feel is now I'm ready to get on that world stage, get this message out to the masses, because I know, and whether we're watching the news or just in our own neighborhood or in our churches, wherever we are, the human condition is a bit topsy-turvy at the moment, and we really need to recalibrate what's happening. And again, this is my way. It doesn't mean it's the right way or the correct way, but it is a way to get into the exploration of human development and advancement. And so for me, I would say the worst thing is not being able to get it out as fast into more people.
Good answer. Good answer. That's that legitimate answer, and I appreciate you answering it. A lot of people tell me, "Well, nothing ever bad has ever happened." It's like,
Oh no, yeah.
yeah. Well, no, I mean, like, because we're frustrated because we can't. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's really hard to get the word out sometimes.
Yeah.
Now, just to that end, where does someone get this book from?
Yes, go right to the website for now, www.thescienceofempowerment.com, and you order it. For international readership, I have an ebook download link. Everyone in the States right now, I have limited signed editions that I personally mail. But once we launch on Amazon, then that'll shift a bit there. But right on the website, this is what I loved about it. We were talking before we recorded. I got to meet people that actually bought the book and talk with them and email and start coaching and changing lives and building friendships. It's been quite amazing.
Wow, that's and just to clarify that, so right now the book is not available on Amazon. It's only available through your website,
Through the website.
and then
Yes.
you're gonna put it in the other retails. When is your plan to have it out there where people can kind of
Yeah,
find it anywhere?
January, right in January
Okay, so
2023. Yeah.
about 2 months from when we're
Yep.
recording this. Okay,
Yep.
very good, very
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yep. Yeah.
So I know in some ways your book is advice, but it's not advice about how to write a book. It's advice about how to live your life, I would assume.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to give someone advice, so let's say there's someone who has a Olympic gymnastic brother who used to jump off of roofs and maybe hit, maybe miss the mattresses. It hasn't really been clarified, and they think they have a concept like this in them. What advice would you have for how do they do it? And I know they got to start. We get that a lot. Just start writing. I get that. But there is more to it than that. What would be the one other thing you'd tell them?
Yeah. Know that it's your birthright to write a book. Know it. Don't question it. Don't doubt it.
Love it.
However you feel the movement, whether it's journaling, scribbling on paper, if you're in the shower and it hits you and you got to get out and you're soaking wet and write down, do that nudge, that universal nudge or that spiritual nudge, whatever label you want to put to it. When that nudge is there, and we all know what that feels like, move on it, act on it, greet it head on, and really build the momentum. You just don't know what's going to come out of it and whose life, and humbly saying it's mostly your own that does get shifted.
That was actually, as I was sitting here thinking of what to say when you stopped talking, my thought was what you just said, which is what I'm realizing is for me, writing is as much a personal journey as anything, and you learn so much about yourself that it's worth doing just for that, I think. But the fact that you said that, and I like your language. I assume that language is part of the whole science of what did you say? You said I don't want to mess it up. You said know it. What do you say? Know it. You're entitled to it. Is that what you said?
It's your birthright.
Birthright.
It's your birthright.
Yeah.
There's something in you that's tapping in, right? There's something trying to emerge and awaken within you. And if you want to be philosophical about it, if you want to be fluffy about it, if you want to be, like an Einstein and find some formula in your brain because that's how you think, it doesn't matter. Just if you feel that movement, there's something in you stirring. I call it fire in the belly, right? From a long time ago. Go for it, move for it.
Yeah, I like that idea of birth. I like that birthright idea. I like that because I think that's important, and it's something. I've not gone through your program. I probably should. But one of the things I often find myself is reminding myself just what you said, which is I have the same right to be intellectual in whatever space it is as anyone else. And if they have, if I'm talking to someone and they have a different opinion, it as long as I know what I'm talking about, it doesn't mean I'm wrong. And it's hard. That's a really hard step. So I think that's really, really, really good advice. Too bad we put that at the end.
Yeah. And also just to remind people, so many, when you think writing a book, who am I to write a book? I'm not an expert in this. I didn't go to college, whatever the story is. If one of my mentors, who I now am the head coach of her global corporate coaching, she has said to me, passion trumps experience, passion trumps education. And I really love that. And that's, I think, what I would want to impart with everyone. When you are authentically connected to your mission, your passion, people hear it, they feel it, they resonate with it. There's something there. And that is what can be, as you said, your business card, your calling card, your book, your coaching program, your speaking engagement. And it's following the dream. It's following that, knowing that I'm here for something outside of just the everyday activity.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we'll close with that, Laura. Brilliant. The book is The Science of Empowerment, and you get it on the scienceofempowerment.com website.
Thank you so much, David. It was wonderful.
Thanks a lot. Pleasure talking to you. We'll talk again. Bye.
You too.
Thank you for watching. Please consider hitting the subscribe button.